Welcome back, everyone. Today's deep dive is something a lot of you have been asking about, and honestly, I'm kind of excited to dig in myself. We're talking all things co-packers.
Sounds fun.
It does, right? So the source material you gave me lays out count them, seven major benefits for food businesses thinking about going the co-packer route.
Yeah.
But like with anything in business, I'm guessing there are two sides to this coin.
Oh, for sure. I mean, on the surface, co-packers can seem pretty straightforward, but there are definitely some layers there, some things to think about beyond just those, initial upsides.
Well, before we go full deep dive, can you just back up for a sec? Remind us what a co-packer actually is and why a food biz owner might even consider working with one.
Okay, so the easiest way to think of it is that a co-packer is basically a factory you can rent, but specifically for food companies. They handle all the production, all the packaging, all that stuff. So you, the business owner, you don't have to go out and buy all this crazy expensive equipment or hire a whole bunch of people right away.
Gotcha. So they're like the wizards behind the curtain making all the magic happen.
Exactly. And, one of the things that makes them so attractive, like one of the big benefits, is that they can save you a ton of money.
Ooh, cost savings. Always a good thing, especially when you're running a business.
Right. So imagine this, you've got this killer cookie recipe, small business, right? But people are going crazy for these cookies.
Okay, I'm falling.
So now you need to make a ton more cookies to keep up with demand. But to do that, you'd need industrial-sized ovens, huge mixers, all this packaging equipment. You might even need to rent a warehouse just for storage.
It's getting pretty intense, yeah. A
Yeah.
lot of overhead.
It is. But a co-packer, they already have all that stuff. All the equipment, the space, the people. So you're tapping into their existing setup and saving yourself potentially tens of thousands of dollars in startup costs.
Smart. So not just about saving money, but also about using it wisely, especially when you're just starting out.
Right.
So cost is one thing, but I'm guessing there's more to the story.
There is. Another big plus, and the source you gave me talks about this too, is scalability. Let's say your cookies just blow up. Everyone wants them. Can your little kitchen handle that?
Probably not without some serious construction.
Yeah. But a co-packer, they've got the space, the equipment, the people. They can ramp up production without you having to, build a factory in your backyard.
So you can ride that wave of success without having to scramble to expand your own operations.
Exactly.
That's huge, especially if you're really trying to grow fast. Okay. This is what I keep coming back to: quality control.
Yeah.
If I'm not there, physically watching them make my product, how do I know it's being made the way I want it to my standards?
Oh, co-packers are super serious about quality. They've got whole systems in place to make sure things are consistent. Trained staff, procedures, a lot of them even work with independent labs to test everything and make sure it meets all the food safety rules.
Okay, so it's like having this whole team of experts making sure every batch is perfect, meets all the regulations. That's got to be a relief, especially for someone new to the food biz.
It is. And that's the thing. Co-packers, they eat, sleep, and breathe food rigs. So you don't have to stress about ingredient sourcing or labeling or all those crazy rules that can make your head spin.
So I can focus on the fun stuff, the recipes, the branding, all that. They handle the less exciting but important stuff.
Exactly. They're an extension of your team with expertise that you might not have yourself. And there are actually different ways to work with them. You could do private label, where they make the product and you slap your brand on it.
Yeah.
Or contract manufacturing, where you've got more control over the recipe and the ingredients.
Huh. So there's a lot more to it than I realized. This is turning into a real deep dive.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And we haven't even talked about the potential downsides, the things that can go wrong.
Oh. Well, that sounds like a perfect place to pick up next time. What do you say?
Sounds good to me.
All right. We'll be back soon to explore the other side of the co-packer coin. Don't go anywhere. And we're back.
Yeah.
All right, so co-packers. We talked about the good stuff, the benefits. But now, let's get real. Spill the tea. What are the downsides? What would go wrong?
Okay, yeah. So, no business partnership is perfect, right? And working with a co-packer, it definitely comes with its own set of challenges. And one of the big ones, and this comes up a lot, is the control thing. You're letting someone else take charge of making your product your baby.
Yeah, I can see how that would be tough. You've put your heart and soul into this. thing, this recipe, and now someone else is, making it.
Right, and that comes with risk. Like, what if they don't really get your vision? Or their quality is not as good as what you do yourself? What if there are delays and now you can't launch when you wanted to, or you can't fill orders?
Okay, so those are all legit concerns. So what can you do? Like, how do you make sure you're not giving up all control? How do you protect yourself?
Honestly, it starts with finding the right co-packer. That's like step one, and it's way harder than it sounds. Because not all co-packers are the same. Some, they specialize, like maybe they're great with baked goods, but not so much with drinks. Or maybe they've only worked with huge companies and they don't get small businesses.
So it's kind of like, I don't know, dating. Like,
Yeah,
you got to find someone compatible, someone who gets you and what you're trying to do.
exactly. Due diligence is key. You really got to research these guys. Make sure they get your product, your brand, your whole vibe, and ask questions. Lots of questions, like have they worked with similar products before? What's their quality control process like? How do they handle communication? Because communication is huge.
Okay, so communication is key. Compatibility is key. What else? What other red flags should I be looking out for when I'm like vetting these potential partners?
Oh, good one. Watch out for MOQs, minimum order quantities. A lot of co-packers, they'll have a minimum amount of product they're willing to make, which if you're just starting out, that could be a problem.
Right, like what if I can't afford to make that much yet?
Right. So that's something you got to talk about up front. Negotiation's part of the game. You might find someone who's willing to work with you, especially if they believe in your product.
So it's about finding that balance, right? Where everyone feels good about the deal. Okay, what about money? Co-backers, they got to be expensive, right?
Yeah, cost is definitely a factor. I mean, besides what it actually costs to make the product, there are usually setup fees too, especially if you need special equipment or packaging. And then you've got storage, shipping, all that.
So basically, get everything in writing up front, all the costs.
Yeah.
So you can like actually figure out if you can make money doing this.
Oh, 100%. Transparency is so important. Don't be afraid to ask for a breakdown, line by line. Make sure it works with your budget, with your whole plan.
Okay, and we talked about communication being a big deal. How do you make sure that keeps going, that everyone stays on the same page, even though, I'm not physically there at the factory all the time?
Regular check-ins are key. Like, don't just assume everything's fine because you haven't heard anything. Schedule calls, ask for updates, and if you can, go visit the facility. Actually, see how things are running.
Like pop in and say hi, see the operation with my own eyes.
Yeah, exactly. And you got to set up like clear communication protocols right from the start. Who's your contact person? How are they going to handle feedback? What happens if there's a problem? You got to figure all that out.
So basically, be proactive. Don't just like send them my recipe and hope for the best. Stay involved.
Right. A good co-packer relationship, it takes work from both sides. And even then, things can still go sideways, delays, quality issues. Sometimes even like they misinterpret the recipe somehow.
I know. That's like every food person's worst nightmare. My precious recipe messed up.
It happens. That's why you got to have everything written down, black and white, the exact recipe, every ingredient, packaging guidelines, everything. Leave nothing to chance and have a backup plan. What if production gets delayed? What if there's a quality problem?
So many what ifs. I'm getting a little stressed just thinking about all this. It's like a lot of responsibility.
It is, but that's why we're talking about it, right? So you're prepared, you know what to look out for so you can protect your brand. And part of that protection, that's where the co-packers insurance comes in. Product liability insurance.
Oh, right, right. You mentioned that before. Can you explain what that is, like why it matters?
So this insurance, it protects both of you and the co-packer. Just in case something happens with the product, like a recall, maybe there's contamination, or someone has an allergic reaction. This insurance covers like legal fees, damages, all that.
So it's kind of like a safety net.
Yeah, exactly, like an extra layer of protection. And you absolutely got to make sure any co-packer you're even considering, they have this insurance. And you got to understand how it works, the details.
Okay, so much to think about. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of like getting your product made and forget about all the legal stuff.
And that's why it's good to talk about it. Co-packers, they can be amazing. They can help you grow your business, reach more people. But it's not always easy. It's complicated.
Yeah, no kidding. We've covered a lot here. Control, communication, costs, contracts, even insurance. It's like, whoa.
Yeah,
Choosing a co-packer is a big deal.
it is a big deal. And before we move on, there's one more thing I think we got to touch on. Your goals, like your big picture goals.
Okay. So how does working with a co-packer fit into like my overall business strategy, my vision for the future, all that?
Right. So working with a co-packer, it can be awesome for growth, but it needs to make sense for where you want to go, long term. Like if you're all about like having total control over every single step of production, maybe a co-packer isn't the best fit.
I get it. It's like outsourcing part of your business, you know?
Yeah.
You got to be okay with that,
Uh,
with letting go a little.
exactly. And it also depends on what you're making. Like if your whole brand is about small batch, artisanal, handmade,
Yeah.
working with some huge co-packer, that might not make sense.
It wouldn't really match the image. People
Yeah.
might feel like tricked or something.
Yeah, exactly. Authenticity is important. How you make your product, it should match your brand, your story.
So it's not just about finding someone who can make my stuff. It's about finding someone who gets me, who gets my brand.
100%. That's why you really got to figure out what your goals are, what you absolutely won't compromise on before you even start looking for a co-packer.
Okay, good advice. Like, have a plan. Know where you want to go before you start driving.
Right. Speaking of finding the right path, maybe we should move on to the next part. Talk about how to actually find and vet these co-packers. Because it can be done, and there are ways to make it easier.
All right, that sounds good to me. Stay with us, everyone. We'll be right back.
We're back. Okay, co-packers, benefits, challenges, all that. But now, like the million-dollar question, how do I actually find these co-packers?
Right. It can feel kind of overwhelming, like, where do I even start? It's not like they're just, hanging out on every street corner. Yeah, no kidding. My Google search history is probably looking pretty weird right now. Lots of co-packers plus my state, that kind of thing.
Oh, you don't have to go down that rabbit hole. Seriously, put the phone down. There are like legit resources for this. Websites, directories, all kinds of stuff. Specifically for connecting food businesses with co-packers.
Okay, now we're talking. Like, what? Give me the goods.
So there are these online directories, right? Basically databases of co-packers. And you can filter them, by location, the type of product they make, if they have certain certifications, all sorts of stuff. Some of them even have like reviews from other businesses.
Okay, so it's kind of like Yelp, but for co-packers.
Yeah.
I can see who's got the best ratings, read what other people have to say about them.
Exactly. And another thing you can do is check out industry associations like the Specialty Food Association. They have lists of members who do co-packing, and they have trade shows too, where you can actually like meet these people face to face.
Nice. Nothing beats a good handshake,
Yeah.
especially when you're talking about something as important as your food baby.
Yeah.
But okay, let's say I've done my homework. I've found a few that seem promising. What's next?
All right, so now it's vetting time. This is where you really got to get to know them, see if they're a good fit, beyond just what their website says.
Okay, yeah, because everyone looks good on paper.
Right. So you got to go deeper, reach out, ask for a consultation. This is your chance to grill them, ask all those questions we talked about. Experience, capacity, quality control, communication style, cost, all that.
So basically, treat it like a job interview, but for like my business partner.
Yep, pretty much. And just like a job interview, it goes both ways. They're checking you out too, making sure you're a good fit for them.
Right. Got to make sure we vibe,
Yeah.
Okay, so consultations, what else?
If everything sounds good, on the phone or whatever, then usually the next step is a site visit. You actually go to their facility.
See the operation in action, meet the team, get a feel for the place.
Yeah. Pay attention to everything. Is it clean? Are they organized? What's the vibe like? That tells you a lot about a company.
That's like looking under the hood.
Yeah.
Right, make sure everything's running smooth.
Right. And ask about stuff. Equipment, the production process, safety, even how they handle waste, especially if you're like into sustainability and all that.
Wow, it's amazing how much goes into this. Choosing a co-packer, I mean.
Yeah.
It's not just about like, can you make my product? It's a whole thing.
Oh, it's definitely a whole thing. It's about finding a partner, someone who's invested in your success just as much as you are, someone who gets it.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, I think this has been super helpful, really breaking down the co-packer world. We talk benefits, challenges, how to find them, all that. But before we go, I'm just curious, like, what about the future of co-packing? What do you see happening in the next, 5-10 years? Any trends? Anything cool on the horizon?
Ooh, that's a good question. The food biz, it's always changing, right? People want different things, new technology pops up. Co-packers, they got to keep up. One thing I'm seeing is more and more specialized co-packers.
Specialized. Like how?
So think about all the like plant-based stuff that's huge right now. Gluten-free, or even like those products with, I don't know, cricket flour or algae,
Right, right. Not your average grocery store fare.
Exactly. And not every co-packer can handle that. You need specific equipment expertise.
So it's like the co-packer world is getting more niche, experts in like very specific things.
Yep, exactly. And another thing, technology. It's changing everything. More automation, robots, data, all that stuff to make things more efficient, more transparent, even like more customized.
Customized? Wait, what does that even mean?
So imagine co-packers that can make like personalized food just for you based on, I don't know, your diet or your preferences or whatever. It's not that far off, honestly.
That's kind of wild. Like the future of food is happening right now.
It is. Oh, and one more thing. Sustainability. That's huge now. People want eco-friendly, ethical. Co-packers are starting to use sustainable packaging, reduce waste, all that. It's good for the planet, good for business.
I like that. Making the world a better place, one delicious product at a time.
Right.
Well, I think that about wraps it up for our co-packer deep dive. So just to recap, if you're thinking about going this route, choose your partner carefully, do your research, ask all the questions.
And remember, there are going to be ups and downs. It's not always easy. But if you find the right fit, a co-packer can really help you take your business to the next level.
Absolutely. And don't be afraid to, embrace the future. The food world is always changing. New trends, new tech, new possibilities. So stay curious, stay informed. And most importantly, never stop creating deliciousness. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Until next time.